Hi, I'm Karen McCarthy, and it's time to Karen-ize. Today's Wednesday, that's when we talk about spiritual health, and today I want to talk about loneliness. Loneliness is a big thing these days. I think there's a lot of lonely people in the world. Now, loneliness doesn't mean necessarily that you're alone. I can feel totally fine when I'm alone and horribly lonely in a crowd of people. I can be not lonely in a crowd of people and feel horribly alone when I'm by myself. So it's a state of mind and a state of, I guess, being, depending on what's going on around you and inside. So God has told me a couple of different times, more strongly in the last year, that he has a ministry for me with the lonely. I was wondering what he wanted me to do once I retired, because my work was always part of my ministry. And he said, your ministry now is to reach the lonely. Now, back about 15, maybe 20 years ago, I went through a really horrible period of time in my life. I was going through a divorce, a separation first, and then the divorce. And, when that happens, your friends don't know what to do. They don't know who to stay friends with, I guess. I moved to a new town, didn't really know a lot of people, and I was really lonely. I was even lonely when I was with people, because I was just in that emotional state of transition that made it really hard. Anyway, during that time, I wrote a poem, and it's called The Desert of Loneliness, and I want to share it with you. I'm not a poet, so please don't critique. But it was kind of what God was telling me, what I was feeling, and what he was telling me he was going to do through that, if that makes sense. All right, so here we go. The Desert of Loneliness. The landscape seems so bleak and bare in a land where no one seems to care. I look around me, no one is there. The times I feel loved seem so very rare that I feel my heart begin to tear. When out about town or in a church pew, I look around and see them, 2 by 2. These people who seem to have no clue of this desert of loneliness I live through. Each day, such an effort to step into. I cry to you, my God, when will this loneliness end? Your only reply would seem to be, patience, my friend. So I wait. I wait for the plan you to send, till one day my heart you begin to mend. And on that day, your plan you reveal, that you had a mighty purpose through this ordeal, that hurting hearts are coming, needing you to heal, but we, their hope too often don't realize we steal. Realizing this, I fall to my face, and before you I kneel. Yes, we need to learn how the lost to reach, but even more, to keep them, we need to teach. To all my Christian family, I now beseech, step out to greet, to connect with more than just speech. Had my life remained full without this distress, at no time would I have begun to guess the depth of loneliness others around me possess, nor how this pain we need to learn to address, how to show our love to the lonely with your caress. So, my God, for this lesson I give you all praise. My hands and my heart to you I continually raise. Thank you, my Lord, for the path you had me to blaze, of showing me how to bring your light to their graves, by helping me through the taste of their days. So that was my poem. And about that same time, I started to really look at the way a lot of churches were functioning. We have a lot of outreach programs, but we don't have all the time what I call in-reach. When the people do come, what do we do to keep them coming? We need to show them acceptance. We need to show them God's love, but we also need to reach out to them. Now, some people don't want a lot of people reaching out to them, but some people do. And some people, they would give anything if you would just invite them out to coffee or to dinner or just a game night. I had one church I used to go to, and the pastor and his wife, especially the wife, were excellent at in-reach. And anytime someone new started coming to the church, they would have a game night and they would invite them to game night. And they would host it at different places, or different families in the church would host it. But it made you feel wanted, accepted, and loved. So I just have a few verses to share with you. Hebrews 13:16. Therefore, encourage one another and build one another up, just as you are doing. We need to just always be encouraging, not just, I've had so many people talk about going to church and never wanting to go back because they just didn't feel like anybody really wanted them there, except maybe just to be a number in the pew. Philippians 2:4 says, do not neglect to do good and to share what you have, for such sacrifices are pleasing to God. He loves it when we reach out to people. Fellowship was a huge part of that beginning church, and it's what reached the people. Oh, you know what? I got the references wrong. My first one does not have the reference. So anyway, the last one is so do not neglect to do good is Hebrews 3:16, and let each of you look not only to his own interests is Philippians 2:4. The first one I can't remember where it's from. It's not on my paper. Excuse me. The last one is Romans 15:7. Therefore welcome one another as Christ has welcomed you for the glory of God. You know, there's a story that I heard. Sorry, I've got a tickle. I don't know if it's true or if it's just a story, but it was about a church one day. And as people were coming into church, there was a beggar sitting out in front of the church. And, you know, a lot of the people were like, oh, God, I hope he doesn't come in. He's going to smell. And they just ignored him. You know how you do the street people? A lot of times you just ignore them. And everybody went in and they waited. And it's like, where's the pastor? And guess what? The Raggedy Man came up the aisle into the podium, and it was their pastor. And he said, you know what? This tells me what this church needs to work on. Not one person in this congregation showed me God's love when I was sitting out there. And all it would have taken was one person, and I might have come in and found God. So just something to think of. That we need to just look for those opportunities for God, that God puts in front of us to help the people who are lonely and feeling like outcasts, feeling unwanted. It's just so important. And they're not always the raggedy people. You might be surprised who in your circle is lonely. Talk to you later. Sorry to leave on such a downer, but it's really an upper when you connect. Talk to you next time.